All right. Here we are at another episode of the DAWk Show where we talk about music technology, creativity, and digital audio workstations, aka DAWs, in a way that is approachable and not gatekeepy because we're all on this music tech journey together, right? If we have chosen to take the music tech journey, that is. Uh And yes, my guest today is my friend Maria, aka Sunflower Summit. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting
Yeah.
me.
Thank you. All right, and it's just a beautiful Tuesday morning and we get to talk about stuff. Maria, tell us a little bit about your journey as a producer and songwriter so far.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been songwriting for most of my life, earliest probably middle school.
Hmm.
Um, I do not advise digging through the middle school, high school archives. Not great stuff over there. Um, but yeah, I just kind of kept writing. And when I got to college, I had a friend who was like, "Hey, let's play open mics. Let's try to get gigs together." So we called ourselves Sunflower Forest together.
Oh.
Yeah. And so we did that for about a year, and it was so much fun. And at that time, we were both music ed majors, and then I realized I really like that part of like doing music so much. Um, that I kind of wanted to explore that more, but my friend was more like, I'm here for education. Like at the end of the day, I still want to be a choral or band director. Um, and this is like more, if you want to take it more seriously, you're gonna have to do it without me. And it's like, that's cool. Like, I don't love you any less.
Hmm.
So then I was like, can I take the name Sunflower Forest? And she was like, that was kind of like our thing. So like, probably not. But I can help you come up with another name. I'm like, okay, how about just Sunflower? And then I'll tack on something else because I really feel like this is kind of where it started. And she was like, yeah. So I was like, all right, we got Sunflower. And so then I had another buddy of mine who was like also playing with me on occasion. And we just kind of like spitballing names together. And we wanted something that would like just kind of flow, but also be symbolic and similar to forest, because the reason we had picked forest was because
Hmm.
the image of a sunflower forest is just so overwhelmingly amazing.
Hmm.
And I just loved the idea of a bunch of flowers all together in community and just kind of growing together. And that's kind of how we stumbled upon Summit, because I like the dual meaning of Summit, where it's the tallest peak of a mountain, but also kind of a place where people go and meet, like for conferences and go and learn things from each other. And a lot of creativity happens at summits. So that is how Sunflower Summit, the name, was born. Um, and I didn't do a lot with it at that time. I did continue to go to open mics, and my buddy would play drums for me on occasion and stuff like that. And then we graduated. I graduated with entrepreneurship as my major, with minors in music and leadership. And I started working at a nonprofit called Saga Education, just focusing on tutoring math. And that was so far from where I thought I would end up, but like I really enjoyed it. And um, over that summer, that first summer after working like my first school year, I was like, you know what? I think this is the time to start an album. Um, the reason being that I had previously been pre-selected to be like a Peace Corps volunteer, and that was one of the reasons I did take that tutoring job, because my volunteer position would have been educating English.
Hmm.
And I was like, I need more education practice. Uh, but then what ended up happening was like, for whatever reason, the paperwork just didn't line up on so then literally just a couple of months before my departure date, they told me that I couldn't go.
Mm.
So that was like devastating to me, because I was like, I just spent a whole year like working in a school and like getting better with like students and like learning education to not go. So then it was kind of like one of those things where it's like, fuck it, nothing matters anymore. Let's make an album.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know, I think that was like a push that the universe really needed to give me, because by that point in my life I had distanced myself so much from songwriting and from performing, because I was just doing this like, yeah, I'm going to be here for a while, then I'm going to be a Peace Corps volunteer, I'm going to work up the ranks within Peace Corps, and then like maybe do that or become like a study abroad advisor, like just kind of like picturing a whole bunch of different things for myself that wasn't anything to do with music anymore. And the universe was like, you're really going that hard? We're just gonna make something happen so you just don't even go. So I don't know. I don't know if you're superstitious or if you believe in like stuff like that, but like I'm not religious, but I do believe that like things are interconnected and there's energy that like moves around, you know? And so I was like, okay, universe, this fucking blows. This really fucking blows. But I guess that means you want me to write an album?
I completely feel that. Yeah, no, you know, that's a whole other podcast that I used to host. So yes, I am all about talking about nudges from the universe and music. But yeah, I mean, personally, I'm in a space of thinking of it as like you do improv with the universe. So the universe is like, oh, nice. Here's the scene you're in, have fun.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so, and when you were writing, you were having your oops, it's time to write an album moment, where was that in the 2020 timeline? I'm sorry if I...
Yeah, so that would have been the summer of 2019.
Oh, okay, we were so young then.
I was a baby. I was 22, 23 years old.
Okay.
And then, so at that point, I didn't know any production at all. And I'd like to highlight that because I did research about like studios and places to record, and I couldn't afford a lot. I mean, I was working at a nonprofit for under minimum wage that whole year, because nonprofits can get away with that sometimes. And so I was like, okay, I didn't even know what production was. Like I heard of producers, but I had always associated that with like hip hop and rap.
Yeah.
For some reason, like this is how little I knew about this side of things. Like I was so ignorant. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm just gonna find a low key studio. And then I did. I found handwritten recordings over on Belmont in Chicago. Closer to that giant Whole Foods, if you know what I mean. And the guy said, I'm not a producer. And I'm like, perfect. Because like at that point I associated producers with rap and hip hop, and I was like, that's not my genre. I'm like, that's fine. You can just like record and just like do what you do and I'll do what I do. But I think he saw just how much I didn't know.
Oh.
And so like he cut me a good deal, so I wasn't like spending too much money. And then when everything was recorded, I had gotten a bunch of friends from college to like record this album with me, and we like practiced it, and we got to perform a lot together, and it was just like such an emotional moment. And we finished all the songs, and he was like, all right, so mixing and mastering. And I was like, what is that? What is that? Yes. Yeah, what about that? I don't know what that is. And then he's like trying to explain mixing to me. He's like, it's like volume levels. Like he's like going so simplified for me, because like I literally knew nothing. And then like when you mix it all, it's gonna sound better, but then you can master it, and when you master it, it like squashes it. And like like he was really trying. And I was like, and he's like, it's the thing that makes it sound good on Spotify. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. So he was super kind, and he was like, I don't usually offer this, but I will go ahead and mix and master this for you. Because I think he just understood that like if he just gave me the stems, I wouldn't have known what to do with it at all, and I would have been crushed, you know, because like at that point I was just having fun with my friends over that summer. Like I had my friend Drew, my friend Anna, and we like played in people's couches in the street block party thingies. Just like wherever people would have us, we're like, yeah, we got music.
Yeah, just like
And
early 20s vibes, just chilling.
oh my gosh, yeah, totally early 20s vibes. And so I think he saw that and he was just really sweet and was like, okay, I will do this. And that's what the album that became Love Notes, my very first one. And the way that I describe it now, it's like it's a live album because it's not really polished in the way that like my other things are, or like other things in general can be. So yeah, and I released that in December of 2019, and this is really important timing, very important timing, because 2020 happened shortly after, right? So January and February, I was kind of in a funk because I was like, all right, I did the thing that I've always wanted to do since I was 5. Now what do I do with the rest of my life? Because I was only like 23.
Yeah.
And so like I started taking like a dance class. I was doing math tutoring again. I was like, I don't understand anything. And then I ran into this online class about sync licensing, and I was like, oh, maybe that's the next step. Maybe I get this album placed somewhere. Not really realizing that this album was just so not quality for that level at all.
It was
so naive.
Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so I signed up for this class, and then there's that word again, producers, and like and I was like, wait, is this not just rap and hip hop?
Yeah.
And Q and Chris Bradley, who's offering production classes through her class Produce Like a Boss. And also Q, March 18th, 2020. So my dance classes stopped. My school shut down, and it was supposed to be for 2 weeks. And I remember my supervisor telling us all, like, hey, come go to your classroom, pick up your things for like the things that you will need to work for the next 2 weeks at home.
Yep. I had that moment too.
Yeah. And I had been following the news, like the New York Times, and so I had heard of COVID since like December, because the New York Times was following this like very closely. And then I was like, I have a feeling that this might be a little bit longer than 2 weeks, maybe a month. So then I ended up taking 99% of my desk home. I just had this feeling like this is going to be a longer thing. I did not go back to that classroom at all the rest of the year. And so I'm like really glad that I took all the things home, because other people had to go back at some point and like very carefully like try to get their things or ditch them forever, and like that's it. That's the end.
I don't love these.
Yeah. So now I'm like not only in like existential crisis of like, what do I do with my music? What do I do with life? Because all of my goals that all of my goals back then had been fulfilled. And now also I'm home alone, and I lived alone then. I still live alone now.
Yeah.
So it's just like, so the timing of taking this course and COVID and my existential crisis all at the same time, that universe, man, was very, very important, because what it allowed was for me to take a production class and to slowly build out my studio, like my home studio, and to start producing. And I just went right in. I started writing custom songs for other people to make some extra income. And I started my own podcast with that called The Anthem Project. I don't run that anymore. That was fun while it lasted, though.
Yeah, and that was, if I remember correctly, that was, you were writing custom songs and then you were like interviewing people on the podcast about it, or like the interviews became songs, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I would interview people to get to know them for like an hour before I wrote the song.
Very cool.
Based off of that interview, I would write the song, and then I would have them back. And that second time that I would have them back, I would just talk to them, follow up, and then I'd be like, okay, but are you ready for your song? So then I would present the song to them, and the second half of that would be their response to the song and like what this whole experience was like for them. And that was very special for me because it kind of like reignited a different possibility of songwriting that I didn't have before. Because like before it was just like, here's my songs, hello world. But when I did it in service for someone else, it was like, wait a minute, music really has an impact on people, and I can use my abilities to understand other people, to remind them of all the amazingness that they are. You know, like people forget how awesome they are. So it was really cool to be able to offer kind of like a sound mirror back to them and be like,
especially in the heights of like lockdown where we're all just in it. Like that is definitely that that sounds like very good lockdown content and just also good content overall, but like especially during that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me. I will brief aside. But it reminds me of there was a show called Small Triumph Big Speech, that Dylan Marin hosted, where he would have people talk about like a small win they had, and then he'd have actors record like a graduation style speech in tribute to the small win that they had. So it's like, you did the laundry today, and then it was like like a valedictorian speech.
I love that so much. Amazing.
So that exists out in the world. But yeah, similar vibes, similar energy. Okay, cool. So you're doing custom songs, you're producing. It is 2020. What are you doing with your life? And going on from there.
Yeah, for sure. So it got to a point where the Anthem project was like getting to be too much for me to do, because I was largely by myself. I did have like a friend or two helping me out from time to time, but it wasn't sustainable. Like I wasn't able to pay them for their work very well. And I just had a harder time managing it than like I had anticipated. And like that makes sense because like I'm 23, 24, running a business that I didn't know I was running. Essentially. So eventually I had to like hang it up because I was like, I'm doing this all wrong. Maybe in the future when I am older and wiser and I know more things, I can do this properly. But right now, I can't manage it the way that it deserves to be managed, because I still think it's a good idea. I just can't do it. So I decided to take a step back and to focus on my stuff again. I had to process a lot of emotions because, you know, COVID was hard, and the interesting thing I think about being quarantined for so long and by myself, and I'm sure this happened to so many other people, is that you start to face the things that you have been avoiding facing. Emotionally, with your life, etc. So then all of these songs started pouring out of me, and that's what became In This Moment, which was my second album. And all of that was just focused on like allowing feelings to exist in the space that they needed to exist, free of judgment, and just giving them that space, you know? So what I set out to do with that album was that, but also I wanted a team of all women, because an interesting statistic that I had learned along my process of like learning production is that less than 2% of producers within the music industry are women, and that is bonkers to me. Like, no, thank you. I want more femme, more non-binary, more women, people in these spaces. So as a non-binary femme person, I was like, we're doing this. So I got Caridad Espinosa, who lives somewhere in El Salvador, to master. I got Katie Dwyer to mix. She's out in South Dakota. And it's all like, that whole album is just home produced, like from our individual home studios. and we had a blast working on that, and it was like really nice. I did a little Kickstarter to like help with like costs and stuff like that, and I'm very proud of how that came out. And then shortly after that album came out, Songfinch reached out to me. And they're this company based here in Chicago that focuses on custom songwriting as gift giving. So different than the Anthem Project, rather than getting a song for yourself, you get a song for someone else. And it's very streamlined. They fill out a questionnaire for you, and you get all of their responses, and you use that to write your song. And then what you really need for that is the ability to write quickly and to produce quickly. And they reached out to me asking if I would be interested. They had heard my song Do Nothing and were like, yeah, we like it. How'd you do that? And I was like, oh, at home. Like, yeah.
Okay, Songfinch reached out to you. I don't know. I feel like you need a sticker or something. Songfinch reached out to you. That's
I mean, I think that like I mean, I'm in Chicago,
okay.
So I feel like that makes sense. Like they were probably like going around like who's in Chicago, you know? Like what are some Chicago artists? So I don't think it's that special, but
I mean, here I am with one Songfinch application downs, and I have not songed the Finch yet. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. It's been really cool because they're so supportive of like artists, and they just really want artists to be able to make an income and to like practice their craft. So I have been working with Songfinch. I became verified in October, so I get like a little bit more consistent work during busy seasons at least. Right now it's not super busy. I've only gotten like 3 or 4 songs in March.
Yeah.
But like Valentine's Day, holy shit, I think I did like 26 songs in February. It was so much. And same thing with Christmas, like all of the songs just come pouring in. But what that has taught me is to process writing really fast and to really nail down my production and like what I do, like what are my habits, and like understanding the ins and out of that so that it becomes so much more streamlined. I used to take 5 hours to write a song. Now it takes me like 2.
Nice.
So, and that includes the production of it. So it's definitely helped me grow as a producer and a songwriter so much. And from that experience, the Snow Songs came out.
Yes.
Which I had intended it to be an EP. I was like 4 snow songs, and then I was like, okay, 5 snow songs, and then it was like 7 snow songs, and then 8.
I was looking at the album earlier today, and I had remembered that it was an EP, and I was like, girl, like look at all these songs.
And then I was like,
awesome. I was just like, oh my gosh. Okay.
And then I was so proud of the instrumentals of that. So like I released it twice. I released one with, it was like 7 songs, and it was the songs. And then I released a deluxe version. Like I call it When It Snows a While Longer. And I included an extra song that's not in that one. And then a bunch of instrumentals, because like something that like I've grown really obsessed with is listening to the instrumentals of my own songs. I feel like when you get to that sweet spot when you can actively enjoy what you're making and not like cringe all the time, I think that's a good sign. So I was like proud of these songs. So I put out the instrumentals too.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for just sharing the journey.
Oh yeah,
that was a ride, but like all of that needed to be in there because that contributed to you learning how to produce. So that was awesome. And so with so I know the song you wanted to talk about today is Snow Queers. So I guess tell us a little bit about the song, and then we will screen share the DAW and take a look.
Sweet, yeah. So Snow Queers, as I mentioned earlier, I identify as non-binary femme. I use she, they pronouns. So many Christmas holiday snow songs are so like heteronormative, you know? So I was like, yeah, let's make a song about snowmen, but then I was like, ew. I don't want to call them snowmen. So I
Why do
ended
they
up
have to
calling
be men?
exactly. So I was like, yuck. Let's
Yeah.
call them queers. So in the chorus it's like snowflakes, snowball, snow queers, and snow. I forgot my own words.
Yeah.
But like I sneak in snow queers instead of snow men because then people can fill in the blank with whatever they want.
Yeah.
I just felt like that was important. And so many songs on that album are just about like how I feel about snow and like using snow as a metaphor for like emotions and just like that feeling of being like subdued in snow or like being home while it's snowing outside and you're just like cozy.
Did you write a lot of these during February album writing month?
No, I actually wrote them mostly in October.
Oh, interesting. Because all of my snow songs I wrote during FOM, except I have my snow songs are all in goblin mode though. Like I have Adventure Beach and Long Johns.
Amazing.
But so it's interesting how different people approach different vibes in that aspect.
Well, the thing is, so this apartment, I moved here mid-October. And I didn't know if people trick-or-treated or not. So I didn't buy candy. So then I was like, oh no, they are trick-or-treating. And so then I got really nervous and then I'm like, it's not even snowing because the past few years it's been snowing on Halloween. And then I was like, I really miss the snow. I wish it was snowing right now. And then I was like, I can make it snow. So I was like, all right, we're just gonna make it look like I'm not home so that people don't come up to me. And I'm just gonna sit at my desk and start producing the songs I have written because some of them are like back catalog songs, like in the sense that snow songs that I had written just over time that never got anywhere. And then a lot of it was written on Halloween or in November. Very tight timeline.
Yeah.
I think I put everything in DistroKid mid-November.
Okay.
And then released it in December.
Okay.
So like in like the span of like maybe 2-3 weeks is when this album was created. And that is the fastest I've ever worked on anything.
That's amazing though. After the course of 3 albums, you went from this like long drawn out like that whole journey that you described with your first album to like I'm just gonna pop out this snow album and like come on. That's amazing.
Honestly, I think that's my undiagnosed ADHD.
Listen, girl.
Oh, that's a whole other conversation.
I see you. I also have squirrels that do too many projects. So yes.
Yeah. So I definitely hyperfixated on this, and I was like, I need these songs to be out right now.
I respect that. Let's take a look at Snow Queers. Let's get it up.
Yeah.
See what's happening. All right, and friends, this is good old Logic.
So if you are, can you see that I opened those preferences? Okay, yeah. So if you're gonna share audio with Zoom, make sure that you change your interface to Zoom audio device for anyone out there.
Oh, I love it.
And then hit that apply button. All right. So shall we just take a listen or start there, or would you like?
Yeah, let's take a listen. Whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Sure thing. So I'll take a listen and I'll like open up some of the thingies as we go.
Yeah, sounds good.
When the snow comes down, I want to fall as lightly. I want to shimmer in the sun. Nothing can shine as brightly. I want to coat every tree, keep an archive of memory. Come and play with me, make some history. Snowman, snow queer, snowball, snow dreams, snowflakes falling everywhere. I'm no longer scared. I've got the snow in me. I've got the snow in me. I've got the snow. When the snow comes down, awake in the crowd. It's finally time to come around. I want to cover every car, from every street to every store. Come and play with me, forget everything. Come and play.
Nice.
With me. Snowman, snow queer, snowball, snow dreams, snowflakes falling everywhere. I'm no longer scared.
I like those heartbeats a lot.
I've got the snow in me. I've got the snow. I've got the snow in me. I've got the snow. I've got the snow. I want to fall atop your eyelash. I want to keep your footsteps. I want to lighten up the dark. I want to never be apart. Come and play with me. Snowman, snow queer, snowball, snow dreams, snowflakes falling everywhere. I'm no longer scared. I've got the snow in me. I've got the snow in me. I've got the snow. Come and play. I've got the snow. Come and play. I've got the snow. Come and play. I've got the snow with me.
Yay!
All right. So that's the song. This is called Snow Queers. It's all about like just having fun with snow.
Yeah. It's really pretty and like ethereal, and I noticed when I was listening to it, I heard that heartbeat, and it was cool like see it because it's so like at the back that you're like, oh, what's happening there? But yeah,
Yeah.
and I was just like, oh good, it's there. I was not hallucinating. Like
Yeah, it's right here.
yeah. Yeah, can we talk
Yeah.
about how you process, because that looks like it's a kick, but then
Yeah,
it's
so
very thuddy. So let's talk about how we make that sound.
so Splice is a thing. It is this database of sounds that you pay a little subscription fee and you can have access to. You can have access to a bunch of different things, but I usually just use it for percussion because that's usually where I tend to lack creativity. And this heartbeat was actually a result of doing so much Songfinch.
Mhm.
And most of the Songfinch requests that I get are for romantic songs.
Yeah.
So then I was like, what better percussion than a fucking heartbeat?
Yeah, get a heartbeat. You got to have a heartbeat on file, like, you know.
Yeah. So then I looked through Splice and I just searched heartbeat
Mhm.
until I found the one that I really liked. And this is the one that I liked, and I have it stored and I use it for a bunch of things because I have really enjoyed using it. And what I often do, you'll see that it's like two little things.
Mhm.
When the snow comes down. But what I tend to do is I'll like just separate one
Okay.
and then delete the rest, or like take both of these because they sound slightly different.
Yeah.
And then I'll place them however I want. So like, what if I want one here and then another one there, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I will do. for like other things.
Cool.
But then for this one, I was like, actually, I like it as it is.
Yeah.
So there's that. I did EQ it a little bit
Yeah, that's what I'm
differently.
good at.
I took a bunch of those highs out.
Yeah.
So then it's focusing here.
Yeah.
There was some room noise and stuff, so I did a little declip so that it's not. Yeah, there was a lot going on, so I did a bunch of declip to just get rid of that boominess, because at the end of the day, I really did want it to sit in the back, and to
Yeah.
kind of interact with the rest of the percussion.
Can
So
you
like,
show just very briefly what's happening with that declip? Because we haven't seen one of those on there.
oh yeah, so like usually the declip will be all the way up here, and these will be a little bit higher. So what happens is like you'll see the shape of it and how it's like hitting all of that. So then I'll like, okay, I want to curve this a little bit. So then I will, if it lets me, it's like frozen.
Cutting down those, cutting down the how loud it is, so it doesn't.
Yeah, essentially how loud it is. Like you don't want your ears to be like, rah.
That.
So
yeah. Okay, cool.
So yeah, I'll just take that down, and then you can also mess with it on like a stereo mono perspective.
So if you want it loud in one ear but not in the other, which is a weird choice, but you know, you do you.
People do it. I guess because it's there. It exists.
Whatever you're into. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So all of these sounds are from Splice, and I decided I wanted to find a little beep. So that's a combination of like 3 different beeps that I found.
That's delightful, because I didn't even notice these beeps, but they're just that's very fun.
They're
yeah, I
there.
want to hear what that sounds like in the mix now.
I've got the snow in me. I've got the snow. And the snow comes. I just love it. It's so cute, and I used Dodie as inspiration for that. If I don't know if you've heard of Dodie. I recommend. This song is very much inspired by Dodie. She's one of my favorite artists. She has a song called Monster and a song called Hot Mess. So I was like, what if they got married and made a baby?
About snow.
So that's kind of what I think that it would be. Like Dodie has like these big vocals at the end, kind of like how I stacked all of these things with like the commonplays, the choruses coming in at different times, all like it's all voices on deck at the end, and that is very much from Hot Mess. She really builds out to that. And then from Monster, she has these cute little beep boop bops, and I was like, I need a beep boop bop. And that is how we ended up with a little beep bop.
Today's lesson is beep boop bops in places where you might not think beep boop bops should be. Exactly. Amazing. Yeah, can you break down a little bit, because you got some vocal stacks going, and I know I don't always know how much I need and how thick it needs to be for me. Like I'm kind of a one and done and some ahs in the background person. But
yeah, I can break that down.
Yeah.
So
let's do it.
as far as determining when you need more vocals and when you don't, I think it's really clear to have a vision in your head of like, what do you want the song to feel like? I think that a solo voice is really nice. For example, I could just get rid of the stack.
Yeah.
When the snow comes down, I want to fall as lightly. I want to shimmer in the sun. Nothing can shine as brightly. I want to coat every tree, keep an archive of memory. Come and play with me, make some history. Yeah, so like that sounds really nice on its own, but then it's like, think about the goal, think about the vision. I think that solo voices are really great for emotional things, for something that you want to be a little bit softer, for something that is delicate. And but like I was going for ethereal and for playful. So then to create some of that etherealness, I put some reverb on a bus right here. I got space delay reverb. So space reverb and delay. And this is one of the reverbs. I have like 3 different reverbs that I'm using throughout the song. And I like to put my reverbs on buses because then I pick how I want the reverb to act just once, and then I can throw it on different things. For example, guitar has bus 9 and bus 11, so that'll be 9 and 11. So it's got a double delay on the guitars.
Yeah. And we've talked about buses on the show before, but it's exactly as you're saying. You are if you have a bunch of things that you want to have that same color palette of reverb, so you send them over to a bus and then they all get the same color palette and you can choose how much of that color you want, basically.
Exactly. I also just like to think about it as a regular bus.
Yeah.
You know how like
They're
a
on the
bus
bus
is
together.
driving?
Yeah.
And then like you go to the bus stops and people are like, I need to go to the same place, so they like hop on the bus and the bus driver is like, cool, dude. It's like that, but for music.
Yeah.
That's how I describe it.
I love
So
it.
yeah, so like I have some reverb on, actually, yeah, well, this is like bounced, so I don't have the rest of the chain on it right now, but I do have some reverb and stuff going on with the lead vocal. But then when I couple it with the stacks that I do, it just feels different. I want to shimmer in the sun. Nothing can shine as brightly. I want to. And it's just like living in the back, right? And then
I see that they're panned left and right.
Yeah, so like when you're listening through headphones or even listening mono, like it's gonna feel hugged. It's gonna feel like supported. And I did the same thing with these harmonies here. I've got some pans going on. I've got EQ. I got a denoise, denoise and a declip. And I decided to go with like some dissonance. Slightly, I want to shimmer in the sun. Nothing can shine as brightly. I want to go. So for me, like when I pick out when to do harmonies, it's kind of like, what are the words, the lyrics that need to stand out, or that I would love to stand out, or that would be really interesting if they stood out. So the words there are shimmer in the sun, nothing can shine as brightly. And so I wanted to create something that was shimmery, like the way that snow looks like when it glimmers with the sun, you know? So I was like, if I could take that visual and turn it into a sound, what would that sound be? And that is what I made.
Yeah, no, and it lines up too, like structurally, but also, to your point, like yes, it does add that shimmering element, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of like my approach with vocals is like, what's the intention?
Yeah.
Intentionality is so important when you're crafting a production. Like, what are the parts of the song that need what? How can you service that? How can you provide that? And so like these O's too, it's like we're just chilling, we're vibing. I've got the snow in me. I've got the snow in me. I've got the snow. And for those O's, I have them all panned in different degrees and at different levels. so that it feels like a choir just randomly showed up.
Did you do the thing where you recorded close to the mic and then you step back and all that?
Not as much as I wish I had. I knew that technique, but I was just too excited. So I was just like, I'll do it. I'll figure it out in post somehow. I was like, I don't have time to reposition my microphone in different places right now. I'm like, I need to be done.
Well, I mean, it sounds great. So it worked.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll also notice that I have different sections of the song on different tracks rather than all in one thing. Even the lead vocal isn't like this whole part right here is silent, and I have its own chorus part. That's so that I can treat them slightly differently. Like I have a slightly different EQ on the chorus vocal. I've got that noise reductor. I've got nectar, which just kind of gives my voice a nice little polish. And again, that declip. I think that I was really worried about about not clipping during this because I had so many tracks going on. And I had, every time that I heard this outside of the DAW, I kept hearing these fuzzy things and like just stuff that just didn't make sense. So I was like, I must be clipping. So then I ended up just going down the line and like declipping everything to try to like minimize that. It wasn't until after I released the songs that I learned some more neat tricks from my friend Katie that I was like, oh, maybe I didn't have to declip everything. Maybe I should have gone a different route. But you know, that's the cool thing about production is that you keep growing and you keep going. This album, I think the Snow songs are far better production-wise than In This Moment, which is my second album. And I'm currently working on my next project, and like I already see a huge difference in my quality of production from this to what I'm working on now. And that's months of difference. Like I did this in like November and it is April, so like 5 months later, and I'm already so much better. So like I say this to like be encouraging, like just keep going. And I know it's very hard to keep going sometimes, and it can be very frustrating and it can be time consuming, but like you have ideas in your head that are so fucking amazing and nobody else can hear them except for you. So you owe it to us to hear you the way that you want to be heard. So keep going.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And that's, I think that's, it's so important, especially, well, one, it's important to reframe the journey of like listening back to your old tracks and being like, no, I have some notes. But then like, but then you just have this record of your journey as a producer, and you have a record of the journey your ears have been going on, and looking at it as a record and not and just allowing yourself to be growing is what's important, right? And just realizing what your good enough is at different moments in your life and allowing it to shift and change. And also like if you need to hire somebody who's further along in the journey because you're making this for another thing, like knowing what those limits are, you know, as well.
So. And also like the more you produce, the better you can communicate with other producers and get your vision across. I'm working on this project, right? My next album will be called On the Way to Okay. And I decided that I do want to produce some of it, but there is also like other genres out there that I don't know how to produce yet. And I would like those songs to be in it too, but I want them to be at like equal level, if not better. So I'm actually in contact right now with a producer who's taking a couple of my songs, and we're just like going through it. We're bouncing emails back and forth. I'm giving him notes, and my notes can be as specific as like, hey, can you change this EQ over at about 1K down a couple dBs, because like I can hear it. And I wouldn't have had that kind of language, that kind of specificity to work with a different producer had I not understood it on my own, had I not taken the time to produce my own things.
Yeah.
And another thing to think about too about production is that something one of my mentors says all the time is like, you don't have to be the person clicking the buttons to be the producer.
Yep.
So if you don't have all of the plugins, if you don't have the sound recording equipment, if you don't have all of the knowledge, but you have the vision and you can communicate that vision to somebody else who knows those things,
Yeah.
you're producing it.
Thank you for sharing that track and like being so open about your production journey. That is why I do this, why I want to do this show, is because I think it's just important to just meet people where they are at, especially, hello YouTube. There's a lot of dudes who be talking about all their plugins and like, which I'm I support that, but also, like, I think it's more important to just look like we're not experts. We're not experts. We're all on the journey. We're figuring it out. We have expertise in different levels, but we're not experts. And you don't have to be an expert either.
Oh no. You can just do, and honestly, like, I just do a lot. You just gotta keep doing.
Keep doing the
Keep
things.
doing. That's really it. And like, try really hard not to attach moral or ethical like correctedness to it. Like don't be like, this is good and this is bad, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, it is what it is, and don't take that as like a bad thing either, because I feel like sometimes people say that when it's bad or when they can't change things, but it's like, it is what it is, and that's it. That is it.
It's not bad, but you might want to roll off some of your high frequencies. Or, whatever. Like,
yeah.
Beautiful. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it, baby.
Okay. First one. Explain your favorite plugin like you're a sugared up 8-year-old.
My favorite plugin is reverb because it like space. There's like so much space. It's like you're shouting into a cave, and it's like, whoa, hello, and like, it's so easy to use, and like, you don't need to buy it because like, it's usually like already in Logic, and there's so many cool reverbs, and you get to go beepy boopy bop and like just hit buttons, and you sound so big when you're so small. Yeah.
Oh my god. I absolutely, I love reverb too, and I love that there's all the different rooms, especially in the Space Designer, where it's like, would you like to be in a cave? Would you like to be in a grand cathedral? Would you like to be in a bathroom? I don't know.
Would you like to be in the middle of a forest screaming, can anybody hear me?
Yes, there's a plugin for that. Thank you. That's my favorite. That's my favorite bit. A lot of people say reverb so far. This is interesting.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, I think it's like, it's classic.
Yeah.
I feel like reverb, delay, attack, like, such simple things can make such a huge difference. Automation, just learning how to like control when volume happens. Yeah. Amazing. We love it.
Things do the most magical things. Yeah. Okay, what is one skill on this music tech journey that you are very proud of?
Oh, okay. I would have to say my my improvement in recording. I think that I had a hard time with like using metronomes at first. And now I feel like pretty comfortable using metronomes, and also like just being better at playing guitar and singing in the way that I want it to be at the end, because I've learned that you can only do so much in post, right? Yeah. But if you can get like a really good recording, then you can do so much more, right? So like, I'm getting better at like singing exactly what I want to hear on the first few tries, and not spending so much time doing it over again or being frustrated when I auto tune it too much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just my ability to record myself better. And that comes from time of like understanding what my mannerisms are when it comes to recording and like just being aware.
Yeah. Awesome. Um, what is one skill that you are on, like you're just at the tip of the rabbit hole on?
Mixing.
Yeah.
I think that like I've gotten pretty good at the kind of production that I do,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not very good yet at mixing it. And there's a lot of learning that I still have to do when it comes to mixing. Um, but I feel like either I take my songs to other people to mix, or I have to just learn this.
Yeah.
So that might be my next rabbit hole, is just like learning how to mix the things that I make. And like, of course, I still have to learn a bunch of other production stuff, but like I think it's important to know what you need to do for you and what
Mm-hmm.
makes sense for you.
Yeah. Um, good. Great answer. A lot of sub projects within that, I'm sure. Uh,
Yeah.
if you could design a plugin through purely magic, do not worry about the science. What would you create?
Uh, would it be lame if I said like a denoise plugin that was just better? Not that the one that I don't have isn't good, but like one that is like so specific where like uh this happens sometimes because I'm like very all over the place. I'll
Mm-hmm.
have friends who come over and stuff, and I'll lose track of time. Like I know they're coming at some point during the day, and I'll be like, this is a perfect time to start recording my vocals. So then I'll start doing that, and I'll be taking such a good take. And because I forget when people come over, and I know this about
Mm-hmm.
myself, I'll just unlock my door and they'll let themselves in, and they know this about me. So
Yeah.
I'll just be like singing my heart out, and then the door's right there. So then they'll come in, and you'll just hear like the knock on the
Oh
door, or
God.
like the doorknob, and it's like, okay, I could retake it. It's fine. I'll do that
Yeah.
later after we hang out. But if there was a denoise that could specifically take out footsteps and the sounds of doors opening and closing.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
I mean, yes, if there was I would actually agree with that. It would be magical, especially like the denoise for like like I find especially during the summer like that if I'm trying to record vocals, the cicadas always bomb out
Oh
my
my
vocals.
gosh, don't even
It
remind me.
yeah, like
I'm so
I
not
think
ready for that.
there are multiple failed takes where I'm just going cicadas on the track and then
Yeah,
deleting it
like
like
during cicada season, you just gotta like get to know their schedule and
yeah.
like do other things other than recording during that time, because like it's so frustrating. Like if you need to make a rough take so that you can like have an idea so that you
Yeah.
remember later, cool,
Yeah.
but don't expect anything more. You'll have to redo it.
Yeah.
Cicadas, man.
They be cicadaing. Um ooh, so I have a new question I want to try out in
Okay.
this round. Uh what is a genre like if you could make up your own genre, what would you create? Combining all the other
Um,
genres.
uh, Cinematic singer-songwriter?
Yes, cinematic singer-songwriter.
Like not not cinematic and not singer-songwriter, because I feel like you could argue that that already exists, in the sense
Mhm.
that like we have people like Ruel and stuff
Mhm.
out there who are very cinematic and like, but also like very songwritery. But I feel like that tends to lean like more cinematic than songwritery. And then you have
Mhm.
songwriters out there who will use orchestration, like they'll use like some violins and some toms and like just like really nice finishes, but that's still more songwriter.
Mhm.
So I think like blending the two equally would be a really interesting thing.
Mm.
Not too much of one or the other. Like it has to be like just right. And I'm not saying that that's me because that's not me, but because I feel like I guess I'm more like songwriter than
Yeah.
anything. But like that, I think that would be really cool to listen to.
Yeah.
And like
I'd listen to that.
and like it kind of exists. Like I would say that some Lizzie McAlpine songs are very close to what I want in a genre,
Mm-hmm.
but not all, because Lizzie McAlpine tends to go pop in some things, which I love. But there's just like Doomsday, I think, is like a good example of like cinematic songwriter, where
Mm-hmm.
like you have the melodies, I guess, lend themselves to have that cinematic edge. You've got some of that modern pop production, but it's still sung like a songwriter. It's not operatic, and it's not too much like orchestration either. It's
Yeah.
like very, very close.
Yeah. No, I could absolutely see that. Ooh, I'm gonna keep crafting this question, but I love that answer. That's awesome. Cool. So, where can people find you, follow you, what's next, all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure thing. So Sunflower Summit, anywhere you listen to music, Spotify, Apple, wherever. It is Sunflower Summit. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok under at Sunflower Summit. And if you're interested, I do have a Patreon that I post to every Sunday. Sometimes it's a YouTube video, sometimes it's a demo, sometimes it's a blog reflection of things that I'm thinking about. But it's all just kind of like what it takes to create the stuff that I make, and like getting to see that process up close. I am currently working on my next album, like I said, on the way to okay. So a lot of the things in my Patreon right now are related to that album. So if you are interested in listening to those songs in advance, and seeing the journey that they take, because sometimes I'll like in 1 week, like this literally just happened. I posted a song last week and was like, I don't know if this is it yet. And then I posted the same song this past Sunday with 3 verses cut out in like a different like direction. And I was like, okay, I think this is closer. Like you'll get to see those kinds of changes within the song before they make it out on Spotify.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and thank you so much for being on the DAWk show. Any other like final thoughts you have before I let you go?
Just keep going, guys. Like I know it can be very disheartening sometimes, and technology is not always friendly, and I get worked up about technology too, but you have a vision, you have a voice, and you deserve to be heard. So go, be loud, make your sound.
Go be
That's it.
loud, make your sound.
That wasn't intentionally meant to rhyme. That's just something
No,
that happened by accident.
no, but it also has like this like Shakespearean, but also like
now I need to
like
write something with that in it.
yeah. Anyway, go be loud, make your sound. Thank you so much for being on the show.
As I scribble some lyrics for for a future song. I don't know. Keep writing, guys. Just do it. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much for listening to The DAWk Show. Make sure to take a look at our show notes to find out more about today's guest. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you are listening and send it to all your cool music nerd friends. Okay, see you next time.